Hello and welcome back. I'm going to start with the films I got from the Johns Hopkins University Library, and this time I was able to get one film from the McNaughton Popular Viewing collection, and that film is Harry Brown. This is a vigilante film starring Michael Caine, and I've enjoyed some vigilante films in my time, the original Death Wish, and there's a Sally Field film called An Eye for an Eye that I actually thought was really good. But I don't know. I feel like maybe I've sort of exhausted myself with the genre, but I haven't watched this yet. And I do love Michael Caine, so I figured why not give it a try. And the rest are from the regular Johns Hopkins University collection. And I have an exciting announcement to make because as of my last movie haul, I had finished the Pasolini canon, and that means I need a new director to start it on. And when I choose directors for these kinds of projects, the first ones being Bergman and Godard and then Pasolini, I try to pick a director who does work that's really fresh and provocative and entertaining, but also someone who has a definite style, but whose body of work is varied enough that it's not going to feel like every single week I'm watching the same movie over and over again. Or who maybe plays with a couple of different styles so I can alternate between those styles. I also try to pick directors who are, I guess, seasoned enough to be considered classic, but also contemporary enough, like maybe from the 60s or 70s, that it doesn't feel like I'm doing an assignment. Because although I love classic films, if you force yourself to watch them week after week after week, it can sometimes feel a little bit like homework. Also, I had been really sticking with Europe, obviously, Bergman from Sweden, Godard from France, Pasolini from Italy. And so I decided I wanted to expand and get a little more global. So, my next director is going to be Shohei Imamura. And the first one I chose for this project was Intentions of Murder. I'd seen a couple of Imamura films before. I'd seen The Pornographers, which is an excellent little study in family dysfunction. And I saw Black Rain, which was a reflection on post-Hiroshima Japan. This one is definitely more in the vein of The Pornographers. I watched it yesterday, and I've been sort of agonizing over how on earth I was going to describe it, because it's really just hard to categorize at all. It's about a beleaguered housewife who is raped during a home invasion. Then her rapist begins stalking her, and they sort of begin an affair. But it's mostly about this woman who's trying to survive in just these really kind of oppressive, both physical and emotional conditions. But it's a mix of domestic drama, dark comedy, satire, thriller. It's got all these things going on. It's really wonderful. And in the liner notes to this film, this is the Criterion Collection edition, the writer, whose name is escaping me at the moment, says that it, in a way, is a foreshadowing of Nagisa Oshima's films. And he mentions Violence at Noon. And I could definitely see the similarities between those two films, but I found it also a little bit similar to my favorite Oshima film, which is The Empire of Passion. So I really like this, and I'm really looking forward to starting my Imamura, or to continuing my Imamura project. Then the rest of these from Hopkins I have not seen yet. This is The Big Animal. It's a Polish film about a couple who discover a camel outside their window and take it in as their pet. And I think it's supposed to be kind of an allegory, because then the townspeople, when they see they're attached to this camel, the townspeople grow resentful. And it was written, I believe co-written, by Krzysztof Kieslowski, who did the Decalogue and the Three Colors trilogy. Actually, if I'd known that, I might have hesitated before checking this out, because I find him just a tad overrated. I thought parts of the Decalogue were great, but other parts of it, overall, I felt like it was a bit of a slog. And the one film in the Three Colors trilogy I've seen, which to be fair is the least acclaimed, was White, which I just hated. But what the heck, it has a camel. How can you not love a film with a camel? Then I got The Fallen Idol, directed by Carol Reed and based on a story by Graham Greene. This is a classic film of childhood innocence lost, and I have not seen it yet, and I actually can't believe I haven't seen it yet. It's one of these big classics, so it's about time I got to it. And then for my sort of fun modern thing, I got The Living End, directed by Greg Araki. Araki is sort of a cinematic bad boy. He's best known for his trilogy, Totally Effed Up, The Doom Generation, and Nowhere. I've seen only 2 of his films. I saw Mysterious Skin, which I really liked, and just found, it was definitely edgy, but I also found it extremely moving. And I read the novel by Scott Heim, which I also thought was good, but I thought the film adaptation of Mysterious Skin was even better. And then I saw Nowhere, which is the last film in that trilogy I mentioned. And that one I just was really not very much into. I felt like he was just being shocking for the sake of being shocking. And when you do that, it's not really that shocking. So we'll see about this. This is one of his earlier films. It's about 2 lovers on the lam. And from University of Baltimore, I got The Illusionist. I've not yet had a chance to see this. And this is a film that came out at almost exactly the same time as another film about magic called The Prestige. And I saw The Prestige and liked it. I'm not sure I liked it as much as a lot of people did, but I thought it was a good film. And that one is considered generally to be the better of the 2. But this one has a great cast. It's Edward Norton, Paul Giamatti, and someone else in here who I think is reasonably famous. I don't know. Well, Jessica Biel is in it. I'm not really a huge fan of hers, although I'm not a fan either. So give it a try, see what happens. Then from Stevenson University, I got Pudovkin's Mother. This is a silent proletarian Soviet film, or it's about one of these sort of genre films about the struggles of the proletariat. Honestly, not one of my favorite genres. There are a couple I really like, The End of St. Petersburg being the one that leaps to mind. But I've seen Earth, I've seen The Battleship Potemkin, and I know they're supposed to be these great classics, they just don't really do much personally for me. And likewise, this one I thought had its moments, but I wasn't really blown away by it. And now on to my borrowings from the Sights and Sounds department of the Enoch Pratt Free Library. I know I've been off Marco Ferreri for a while. I'm not sure why. I somehow got distracted. But this time I got another one of his films, The Seed of Man. This is maybe a little bit more of a serious side to Ferreri. It takes place in a post-apocalyptic society after much of humanity has been wiped out by a plague. And it focuses on a young couple and their struggle to survive and trying to decide whether or not to have a child. And as I said, it's a bit more serious. It lacks a lot of the madcap humor that I find so charming in Ferreri films. And honestly, I didn't really like it as much as the others I've seen. I didn't think it was horrible, but I just was not all that crazy about it. And then I got Blood and Sand, silent Rudolph Valentino classic about the rise of a young Spanish man to become a famous matador and his various romantic problems. And I've just started watching this, and it's a lot of fun so far. And this also includes a short film or a newsreel called Rudolph Valentino and His 88 American Beauties, in which apparently they set up a beauty contest for Valentino to judge, and this little newsreel is about the contest, and that was kind of entertaining. And last but not least, I've not seen this yet, but I've really been looking forward to giving this British show Cracker a try. It's about a detective it's kind of a hard-boiled show. You know, he's got his big problems, but he's a really great detective. And this is the very first episode, which is called The Mad Woman in the Attic. So I'm looking forward to seeing if this is as good as it's cracked up to be. And if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join me for my next video.